All right, welcome into the Lowdown Sports Show. This show is brought to you by the Basketball Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Drew,
I'm BJ.
and we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. That's open with bonus episode, but this is a bonus,
Ooh.
by the way, bonus episode of the lowdown today because a lot of free agency stuff has gone on in the recent days. It started and it did not stop pretty frequently for the first couple of days. Shams and Woj were
Oh yeah.
tweeting away. A lot of free agency news, some creative things going on. We're going to talk about some of the deals that have been done so far, and we're also going to talk about what's going on in Dallas. With the Dallas Wings, more specifically, had some players with some tweets after the recent game on Friday that we're going to be talking about, and what they have upcoming as well. So we're going to dig into all that and what's been going on with this team. So without further ado, BJ,
Yes, Drew.
are you ready?
Let's do it, man. Let's hit our Twitter fingers and get some of those Woj bombs out there.
Let's get it going. Let's get it going. All right, NBA free agency on tap first, Mr. Beach.
Yes,
We're gonna kind
sir.
of go in alphabetical order with these 30 teams, starting with the Atlanta Hawks. And BJ, this one's actually not really listed, but we need to go into that trade that happened just after we got off our last episode
Yeah.
between the Hawks and the Spurs that netted them DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, we sure do, Drew. And not only that, the Hawks are getting one of the best point guards of the across the league last year. Murray was, I believe, one of five point guards that had double-digit points totals and like 8+ assists per game average. I believe, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken, Luca was up there. Trey Young was up there. So Murray, a great young talent, and San Antonio. I guess this is kind of waving the white flag. The Spurs are sending away DeJounte Murray and Jock Landale to Atlanta. The Spurs receive, as a result, Danilo Gallinari, who has already been bought out of his contract. So the Spurs have
Yep.
already,
And he's in Boston.
yeah. So not only did have they cleared up some room, but they have gotten 4 picks out of the deal. And you'll notice a theme
Ooh.
with that, Drew, here as we go forward, because the Atlanta Hawks send their 2023 first round pick that is protected via
Hmm.
Charlotte from New York to the Spurs. They're sending their 2025 first round pick, no protections, a 2026 pick swap, and their 2027 first round pick. So, Drew, Atlanta, there was talk about whether they were going to be able to keep John Collins. Now,
Yeah.
giving another superstar in that backcourt,
Ooh.
that's a pretty enticing team to stick a part of if you're John Collins, wouldn't you say?
Ooh, you just called them both superstars? Trey Young and Dejounte Murray? Superstars?
I mean,
Stars, yes.
Murray could develop into it in Atlanta. I mean,
That's true. They could
like
both
it's
develop into it.
absolutely.
But
Like I said, that stat with 5 point guards that had double-digit points and 8+ assists last year. If they can
yeah.
both continue, obviously one of them is not going to have to be a point guard if they're both on the same team, but they're
Yeah.
both going to get their numbers.
Yeah. I would delete that super though. Two
Okay,
stars though.
he's
While
editorializing me over here.
but now with Dejounte Murray joining this backcourt in Atlanta, BJ, where does this backcourt rank amongst the NBA's elite?
It's definitely top five. It's up there in
Okay.
terms of
So who
one
is
of
that
the.
top five then?
That's the problem is that you asked
Curry
me,
and
and yeah,
Thompson.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, Curry and Thompson are definitely up there. I mean, you can
Okay.
make the argument that Minnesota is developing one, not quite there yet, but we'll talk more
Okay.
about the Wolves. When you had Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson, I would argue that's one of the better backcourt duos that
Hmm.
was in the league. Obviously, that one
Where
is no
does
longer in
does
existence now.
does a newly formed John Wall and I don't know if you consider you could slide up PG to count. Well, never mind. You won't. We can't
Yeah, I was
count
gonna
that.
say.
Let's see. Where is another good backcourt in? Let's see. I don't know actually off the
Yeah,
top.
it's
It
tough
could
to
be up
think
there
that.
already. So Chris Paul,
Yeah,
Devin Booker.
yeah,
Okay.
obviously.
Let's see who else. What we got here? That might be it. I mean,
Yeah, I
so
was gonna say Detroit's
it could
building
be
something, but
it,
not there yet.
it could be a top three backcourt because there's not a lot of backcourts that are pretty top notch these days.
No.
Um,
What about
okay,
Boston?
that's
What about Boston?
Marcus Smart and Jalen Brown.
Yeah,
So I
I
mean,
mean, like I said,
it's
top
up
five.
there. Yeah. So okay, it's a top five backcourt now. So
Yeah,
that's a pretty solid move. And I like it. I mean, it's definitely going to help Trey Young in practice if he ever has to be guarded by Dejounte all the time. So, getting used to that, defensive assignment every day in practice is only going to make Trey better as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Drew, before
Mm-hmm.
we shift gears and keep going with some of these moves.
Okay.
With this move that the Spurs made, do you think Pop is going to want to stick around and coach another rebuild? Do you think he's going to
No.
have the patience? I wouldn't think so either.
He's probably gonna be there for like a year or something, and then usher somebody else in. I mean, at some
Hmm.
point he's got to hand it off, and Becky,
Yeah,
who is probably gonna get the baton, is already gone, so he's got to make a decision pretty quick, and it's clear that they're rebuilding full out now. They need to anyway, so
yeah.
yeah,
Well, and
I
like I
think he
told
doesn't
you
stay
back when
around
she
for that.
took that job, that doesn't mean that just because she took the job doesn't mean she could not go back and take an NBA job if it was offered to her. I know that she would definitely she would definitely get some interviews, I would think,
Hmm.
because of especially with how well Aces have been doing this year as we kind of expected.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know if she would take it, but I mean, she's bound for Coach of the Year in this first year.
Yeah,
And championship is possible as well. So who knows? But
absolutely.
um, another move that Atlanta had, they got Aaron Holiday agreeing to a 1 year deal. I don't know how much more that moves the needle for Atlanta, but just an added piece to the bench for some depth there. So they got a good squad. They did lose Kevin Herter, and we'll get to where he landed later.
Hmm.
Next up, Boston Celtics. Not a real notable thing going on with them. Just Luke Cornett returns on a 2 year deal. Anything else from Boston you see in BJ?
No, that's not really. Actually, there is something I did see now. It has not been. I don't believe it's been confirmed yet, Drew.
Right.
But Boston did, if I'm not mistaken, bring in Brogdon, right? Malcolm Brogdon.
Is
I
that where he
saw.
went to?
I thought that's where I saw that he had been brought in. Let's see if I can
I think
find
so.
that
Yeah, you
article.
could be right. You could
Yeah,
be
in
right.
a
Yeah.
trade. Here we go.
Okay.
They did acquire Malcolm Brogdon in a trade, at
Why
least
isn't
according to
that in here?
sources. This was from Friday
Okay,
over
so
the weekend.
Woj tweeted it.
Yeah,
Okay, it is Celtics get Brogdon. They trade
Pacers get
away.
a 2023 first and
Yeah,
five players from the Celtics,
yeah.
including
Daniel
Daniel
Tice.
Tice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nick Stauskas, Malik Fitz, Jawan Morgan, and Aaron Neesmith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah. Ooh, team that was just in the finals gets. I believe Brogdon was an All Star, definitely a Rookie of the Year, maybe an All Star one time. I don't know, but a really solid player. 50, 40, 90 club. I know that. Um, good player in position. So okay, that's not bad. He's going to be coming off the bench probably. I don't think they're going to move Marcus Smart from his post. Um, but if they do, I mean that's an interesting starting lineup: Brogdon, Smart, uh, Brown, Tatum, and Robert Williams.
Yeah,
Oof, it's not bad.
19 points a game last year. Drew 5 rebounds, 6 assists per game. So that
Okay,
is a big time move to
yeah.
help the Celtics keep this window open and try to make it back where they could have another shot at a title.
Hmm. And Cam said the Hawks are gonna be really good. Smart move to build for the future. Snyder to the Spurs.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay.
If now
Becky or
that
Snyder are the finalists. Yeah.
yeah, not with Quinn Snyder not no longer in Utah, that would be a possible place for him after Popovich decides whenever he decides that he's had enough.
It says that's a good pickup for Boston. Yeah, I mean, add Brogdon to a team that just went to the finals. I mean, that's
Yeah,
solid.
very solid.
I think that's all in Celtics land so far.
That's at
Uh,
least the far first we heard.
right. Brooklyn Nets just returned a couple players. Nick Claxton, Patty Mills, both on 2 year deals. And then they've got a player in Kevin Durant who requested a trade,
Yeah,
BJ.
we
And
might have to do a bonus episode depending upon
goodness,
whenever Kevin Durant the
man.
news drops to wherever he goes, and Kyrie may be on his way out too. It could be this could be a very big shift in Brooklyn.
Yeah, there's been talks. Apparently, I think Chris B. Haynes posted this um, from uh, on Twitter, but talks about a trade between the Lakers and the Nets, talking around Russell Westbrook and Kyrie. Don't know how that's
Hmm.
gonna work. If it's gonna work, Brooklyn interested in that? Don't know, but
I've seen a
um,
couple of people that say that a multiple team deal is going to be what it takes for both those guys. I
probably yeah.
cannot imagine that they get to continue playing on the same team unless they decide to stay in Brooklyn, Drew.
I can't imagine the third team that's gonna jump in on that. Um, beats me.
Well, I
Beats
mean,
me.
you talk about, we'll talk about Phoenix more. Phoenix is an option. Utah, they've got some
Yeah, well,
capital. There's some interesting moves that could be made for sure.
yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Going to be interesting. I'm surprised that Kevin Durant didn't have a no trade clause though in his contract. But
Yeah, or he
oh
may
well.
go ahead and waive it as at this point.
Yeah. All right, Charlotte Hornets. Not a lot of action just yet. Well, I say not a lot of action. Cody Martin returns on a 4-year deal, and Mr. Miles Bridges getting
Oof.
into a domestic violence incident, and man, what's gonna happen with this guy? But I mean, disappointing. Like, come on, man,
I
control
told
yourself. And this happened the week of free
the
agency.
night before it was supposed to start.
Just just doesn't add up. And I've seen pictures float out of I think it's his wife. Oh my goodness, it's man, like if anybody had thoughts that Michael Jordan wasn't going to pay him before, is Michael
Yeah.
Jordan going to pay him now?
He's not going to get anywhere close to what he was,
Oh no,
could have
I don't.
gotten. He may have to come back to Charlotte because they may lowball him and say, "Are you going to get anything better anywhere else?" I'd hard pressed to find out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's just a sad deal in itself. Shouts out to man,
mm,
man, that's tough. I'm glad she's. I mean, I'm glad she's alive,
yeah.
but dude's got to control himself. That stuff's ridiculous. Um, anything else in Hornets land, BJ? Not seen a whole lot of action.
Not that I've seen yet, Drew. They're kind of in a in a wait and see position with Bridges, and uh, until till that gets sorted out, I can't imagine that they feel like they want to spend a whole lot more money on someone else when they can continue to try to draft, build up their capital and bring up the core, firsthand.
All right, next up, Chicago Bulls. They've got a bit of movement going on, and one that happened earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Levine returning on a 5-year deal. Andre Drummond agrees to a 2-year deal with the Bulls. Okay, Drummond bouncing around to yet another team. What is this? The
Yeah,
fourth team in 4 seasons, BJ?
it feels like it. I think he
Philly,
switched.
LA. Who
Yeah,
was who was
didn't he?
uh he was at
He's
Brooklyn before that, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. Didn't he
Yes.
switch teams in the bubble or something like that? It felt
I,
like they may made a move.
it's
Maybe I'm
been
wrong.
he's been bouncing around a lot. He's been bouncing around a lot.
Oh my
Derek
goodness.
Jones Jr. returning on a 2-year deal, and then
Yeah,
Goran Dragic coming to Chicago on the minimum,
yeah.
and not Dallas. BJ, what's going
It's
on? Why
it's
didn't
it's
Dallas
been
snag
it's
this guy? Why didn't they get Luca, a friend, back on the team?
they've had multiple chances, Drew. I don't know if they don't like his value at this point in his career, if they don't think that
Yeah, too old maybe.
we've talked about trusting in Nico, and so I'm willing to believe that he knows what he's doing and that he doesn't want him in. It's not because he doesn't want Luca to have a friend; he just
Hmm.
doesn't see much value in bringing him in if he's just going to essentially be sitting on the bench, essentially almost like Bobby, and not that saying anything bad about Bobby because you and I both love Bobby,
Hmm.
and we hated to see him go in the trade, but at the same time, if the team can get better, and we have to not pick up guys like Dragic or not keep Bobby around, then that may be the best move is just to not even let him go somewhere else.
Yeah. Alrighty, let's see here. Mr. Dragic, 36.
Hmm.
36 years old. He wasn't going to play a whole lot of minutes. He was just going to be there as a friend, kind of extra ball handler for a bit. He was able to do a little something to contribute in the playoffs with the Nets, but I get it. If they didn't jump on it immediately, it kind of feels like they were never going to do it because
Yeah.
the opportunity was always there last year, this year.
Trade deadline.
I
Yeah.
don't even know why we kept buzzing around about it, but you know, um,
Just because probably Luca asked. That's probably the only reason why.
yeah, yeah,
Either that or they enjoy messing around and saying, we're not going to actually end up playing together other than when we're, playing for Team Slovenia. But it's fun to get, reporters buzzing and antsy or whatnot. And it's like, allegations of tampering or whatnot. And then it doesn't even really matter. So I think maybe it's just a little bit of a game to them.
hopefully Chicago's not done with these moves. They need a defensive player in the front court with Drummond lacking defensive ability and Vucevic not being great for his size.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a lot. And if they have them in there in the same game together,
Ew.
ugh,
Yikes. Woo. Like riding
problematic.
a wave there, Drew.
Problematic. All right, Cleveland Cavaliers making some things happen, inking their guy Darius Garland to a 5-year extension, the biggest deal in Cleveland's franchise history.
That's hard
Ricky
to believe.
Rubio, right? Yeah, right? And you think LeBron and
Yeah.
Kyrie was there.
Yeah.
Um, so
They've had some big names.
right, bringing Ricky Rubio back on a 3-year deal. When he
Hmm.
comes back, he's going to be able to help them out. Uh, Raul Neto coming there on a 1-year deal, and Robin Lopez coming in on a 1-year deal. Adding
One
to,
name that
I
you
feel like
didn't
they've got
mention,
enough
Drew.
front court people.
I was about to say
Who's
one
up?
name that you didn't mention, Drew. What does this mean for Colin Sexton? I know the Mavs have put
Oh
an
yeah,
offer in.
I'm getting there. Colin Sexton, he's obviously out. I mean, he's not gonna they're bringing Ricky back, so they're gonna have him back up, and then
Yeah.
they're gonna ship out Colin. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's necessarily going to come to Dallas. That would be cool, but
I
in
think the Mavs are
Colin,
the team that have shown the most interest in him thus far.
who would, what kind of, I don't know if he's played long enough to really have a player comp yet, but I don't know what, is he better than Jalen Brunson? I did run a poll and Jalen Brunson won the vote. It was like 68 to 32.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if he's similar, but he has some of the same characteristics. I think you keep Dinwiddie and you add a Colin Sexton, and you probably get the same production that you could from those two guys, especially with THJ coming back. Hopefully staying healthy with from injury, that you could just have some more role pieces coming off the bench that could equal Brunson's. His production.
He used to be a 20-point per game scorer in Cleveland. I
Yeah.
just wonder how that fit is in here with Dallas if he were to get picked up. And
Hmm.
speaking of Dallas, that's who's next, BJ. Dallas not doing a whole lot, but bringing JaVale McGee home on a 3-year deal and bringing back the Energizer and the bench favorite Theo Pinson
Yeah.
on a 1-year deal.
You know,
Losing Jalen Brunson to the New York Knicks, which we'll get to later.
yeah, I was surprised to find out that JaVale McGee had been here before. I thought it was a first time signing. I didn't think he'd been in Dallas before. That's how little I remember of his season here in Dallas. So let's hope 3-year deal. Get another big guy in the paint. I think this could be a big move. For the Mavericks. I don't think it's going to move the needle as much as some of the other moves they could have made. But again, trusting Nico, I'm not going to question it.
Well, I mean, this just opens up that pick and roll because I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think he's going to be a Brandon Wright for us in here, the lob game.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's able to block shots. He's got length inside, rebound. He can get going sometimes, and I
Yeah.
mean, just randomly give you a good double double, 12 and 10, and like 3 blocks in a game, just out of nowhere sometimes. So he adds plenty of value to Dallas. It gives you an extra guy defensively that can protect the rim as well. So the height with him and Christian Wood, good lengthy dudes protecting the rim. That's helpful, even in a small way for Dallas. All right, Denver Nuggets signed Nikola Jokic to a 5-year extension, and BJ, I believe they said that was the biggest deal in NBA history.
It is indeed the Supermax extension, the most money in a single contract ever given out in an NBA history.
Mm,
Mm.
that's big money. He's got $264 million. BJ, what would you do with $264 million?
Dip, you never see me again, Drew.
Off the face
I,
of the earth.
I'd retire. I mean, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I'm not gonna be, lavishly purchasing anything, but I mean, you could
You wouldn't worry about
legit.
anything. You wouldn't
I
brush your teeth.
no, I mean, I could brush my teeth and everything like that, but I mean, you could buy, you could buy 264 million toothbrushes. You wouldn't get through them all in your lifetime with that kind of money. So
That's a
the
big
thing
time.
the thing that I'm meaning is like you wouldn't have to worry about ever needing a job. You could do anything you wanted, like job wise, just for fun. You don't even have to request a paycheck or whatever. Just be like, yeah, this is like a hobby to me. I don't need
Big
the
money.
money. I do it because I enjoy this. So
Jokic swimming in that dough, baby. The
yeah.
back-to-back MVP cashes in. See, it just lined up so perfectly for him. He's right into that extension time, right as he's a back-to-back MVP, just walking right into it, like, give me my money, MVP, MVP, boom, beautiful.
Boom. Boom,
DeAndre
boom, boom.
Jordan agrees to a deal. I believe it's a 1-year deal. I think, BJ.
I'll look, but I
Let's
think
open
you're
this
right.
up because it says agrees to deal on here. Like, well, yes, he did. I haven't seen. Well, Shams reported it on the 30th. He just said has agreed to a deal, so there's
So they
no
have a deal in place, but no
link.
details have been.
Yeah, nothing extensive for us. So he's agreed to something, but I don't know exactly how many years, or
I was
maybe
gonna
he's.
say
I
for
don't know.
Jordan, maybe in vet min. I mean, it might just
It's got to be a 1 year, nothing longer,
yeah,
something quick. Devon Reed returning on a 2-year deal, and Bruce Brown joining the Nuggets on a 2-year deal. Denver lost a player or two already, so they had to replace and add in Mr. Bruce Brown. That'll be a good little depth piece for Denver when they come back fully loaded with uh,
yeah.
with Jamal Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So, any more Denver Nuggets news, BJ? You seen?
I have not seen anything with the Denver Nuggets. I think a lot of the talk has been because of Nikola Jokic getting the supermax. That's been pretty much the talking point. They really didn't need anything. They just needed to get healthy. I mean, you saw what they were able to do. They were still avoiding even the play-in tournament, and they didn't have Murray the whole entire year. Otto Porter was out for a good majority of the year. If they can stay healthy, this could be a top four seed in the West, Drew.
Ooh, man, it's gonna be fun to watch Jamal Murray play basketball again.
Oh yeah, I missed seeing him out on the court. The Nuggets missed something when he was
Yeah,
out this year.
they might have missed him more than you.
I
Righty, Detroit
think they did.
Pistons, the young gun Pistons who made some moves in the draft. I believe they acquired Keegan Murray.
That's
Is that
right.
right?
Yeah.
And they
Or no,
got
or wait, did no? They got Ivy.
they
They
got
got Jaden
Ivy.
Ivy, didn't they?
I swear I saw
Murray
Keegan Murray.
went to
What was Murray
Kings.
wearing the other way? Oh, okay, that's what I saw him in. Okay, so yeah, they got Jaden Ivey out here to add there with Cade Cunningham. Kevin Knox has made his way over to Detroit on a 2-year deal, and Bagley inks a 3-year deal to stay there. BJ, talked to you a couple of times about these Detroit Pistons, those young guns after the All Star break were feisty for everybody
Oh
throughout
yeah,
the end of the season. They had less than a handful of blowouts for a team that was, I think, like the second worst record or the worst record in the league last year.
yeah,
After the
one
All
zero.
Star break, they were always competitive, always staying within single digits. Most people, 9 points or less.
Yeah,
Um, making games interesting for a lot of teams. Not a whole lot of double digit and blowout games to end the season. Got some wins, some sneaky wins on some teams. So they play good ball. They'll be feisty this year for sure in the East, and if they can really put it together early, then look out for Detroit to sneak
yeah,
in at the bottom.
yeah, absolutely, Drew. I mean, it's hard not to like what Detroit is building with Cade Cunningham, with Jaden Ivey, as you said. They even were able to, because the Knicks were trying to offload all of their, cap to get the savings for Jalen Brunson. They got Jalen Duran as well. That's, I think, an underrated move. They already
Oh yeah.
bought out Kemba Walker as part of that trade that took place on draft night. But um, as we talked about, the Pistons are in a really good spot right now. They're a really good
Hmm.
young core building, and when you've got two great players that are rising up as young as they are in Cunningham and Ivy. I mean, the sky is the limit for those guys. I also saw, Drew. You're going to ask me, so I'll go ahead and tell you this. I saw that they got Buddy Boeheim on a two-way contract. Not exactly moving the needle as much, but hey, more young talent to add in Detroit.
Very interesting young roster out here. Let me give you some of those young names, BJ. We talked about Jay Ivey. You just mentioned Buddy Boeheim,
Mm-hmm.
Cade Cunningham, Hamidou Diallo, Killian Hayes, still out here in Detroit, uh, Sadiq Bey,
Mm-hmm.
Luke Garza. Now we'll see what he's like in his next year in the NBA if he can develop. And we
That
talked about Bagley, all these key young pieces that are
yeah,
working and developing out here. Gonna be interesting.
it's going to be very interesting, Drew. And that
Interesting.
didn't. I don't even think that mentioned Duran. I thought he was there, but he may have been on the move again. I'll look and see for sure.
Yeah. All right, Golden State Warriors. They bring in Dante DiVincenzo and make sure Kevin Looney stays in town on a 3-year deal. Anything else from the Warriors going on, BJ? Team that just won the NBA Finals. Add a little bit of depth with Dante.
Yeah, bringing back Kevin Looney is probably what a lot of Warriors fans were wanting to do, especially with the news that we'll talk about in a moment that Gary Payton II was on his way out, and he indeed went and left for a new team. But bringing back Looney was what a lot of Warriors fans wanted to manifest into coming to fruition, and it did.
Yay. We're going to go a little bit quicker through some of these teams that didn't do a whole lot. Houston
Mm-hmm.
Rockets, Jayshawn Tate returning on a 3-year deal. Indiana Pacers, Jalen Smith returning on a 2-year deal. Clippers, though, did a little bit
Oh yeah,
more. Batum returns on a 2-year deal. Amir Coffee returns on a 3-year deal. Zubac agrees to an extension.
yeah.
Uh, terms, I guess, later on how
Mm-hmm.
long. And then John Wall finally finds a home in LA on a 2-year deal with the
Yeah, we'll,
Clippers.
we'll we'll know all the details once they figure them out because they've got in stuff in place. But until they get all the nitty gritty and how they're going to be able to keep it under the luxury tax cap and then the hard cap, everything like that. That's what why we don't get all of the details right away. But they do have their another talented playmaker in John Wall if he can stay healthy.
Hmm.
Former number one pick, 12 years ago now. So
Yeah,
he's just always had that talent if he could just stay healthy. So we'll see what he
yeah.
does in LA in a team with the team that that the question is health for them because they are they've got three generational talents on that team if they can all stay healthy. They might actually be the better of the triple threat out there in LA. We talk a lot about LeBron and Anthony
Hmm.
Davis and whether it's going to be Westbrook, whether it's going to be Kyrie. Watch out for the Clippers. I mean, they finished with a better record last year. They may do it again this year, Drew.
Yeah, we'll see what John Wall is like as he comes back after missing that time and after
Hmm.
missing time previously before that. So not a lot of playing time in the last few years for John Wall.
Yeah.
But it's definitely making things a little bit more interesting out there in LA. And speaking of interesting, BJ, these shirts look pretty interesting. They look pretty good. This
Oh
white
heck
one,
yeah! Look at
these
this.
Lowdown t-shirts right here, guys.
Did
If you are
did did
interested,
uh did you mean to
what's up?
match me?
Hey, whoever, I woke up first. I tell you
Oh
that. I
well,
had
that
this
is
on
true.
first.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
always do.
So,
So
yeah, that's right. So if you guys want to tap in and get one of these Lowdown shirts, these Lowdown shirts, tap that link right there in the chat. Go in there, check it out, get you one of these shirts, find your size, and get you one. Also, we have the link on our Twitter at _lowdown. Make sure you go check that out if you're not in the chat currently. If you're listening to this on playback, you know where to find it at T Public.
heck
All
yeah.
right, so LA Lakers are up next, BJ. They added Juan Toscano Anderson from the championship Gold State Warriors,
Hmm.
added Troy Brown Jr. and Damian Jones all agreed to a deal. Just no link or anything else, just a deal. Those
Yeah,
are what's going on. And then Lonnie Walker agrees to a 1 year deal, and it's gonna be uh, well, no details on that either.
it's
Just
probably
one
vet
year.
minimum. I
Yeah,
would say.
probably. But they try to add some depth to this roster, not just some young kind of skill guys that they thought would work, in combination with each
Yeah,
other, like they've tried previously. So they lost Malik Monk, replaced it with Alani Walker, and that other depth between those other players. Doesn't really move any bit of the needle out in LA as they're still trying to shift things around, ship Russell out for a Kyrie, get in that
yeah,
type of interesting situation there. So we'll see what happens and unfolds with the LA Lakers because they are an interesting squad. So we'll have to see what goes on.
yeah.
Anything else besides this, Beach?
No, I was gonna say you're absolutely right about it not shifting the needle that much. Obviously, like you said, I doubt they're done. They hope they're not done. I mean, we'll see. We're just gonna have to wait and see with once they get all that negotiated and
Mm-hmm.
figured out. But I mean, they already are down in terms of how much capital they've got for the future because of the previous deals. Anything
Mm-hmm.
that they're trying to get done for a Kyrie is going to take the stuff they don't have. I would be willing to bet.
Yeah, man. I don't know how it's gonna work. Uh, Stepping into these Memphis Grizzlies, couple of teams that didn't do a whole lot, just brought back their guys. Tyus
Hmm.
Jones returning on a 2 year deal. John Morant extended for 5 years. They're keeping their guy for the long term in Memphis.
His
Uh,
max, yeah.
hmm Miami Heat bringing back Victor Oladipo. They're going to give him another try as they saw him have a little bit of energy for him in the playoffs. So they
Hmm.
got him back on a 1 year, and then Dwayne Dedman returns on a 2 year deal. Then the Milwaukee Bucks do a little bit. Bring back Bobby Portis on a 4 year deal,
Yeah,
Wesley Matthews on a 1 year deal, and Javon Carter on a two. And add Joe Ingles for a 1 year deal. Joe Ingles, I believe, had an ACL tear this year. BJ, that put
I
him
believe
out for the
that's
rest of
right.
that season. So, just trying to see what he can add once he comes back for these Milwaukee Bucks because they've already lost PJ Tucker,
Hmm.
a different type of asset Joe Ingles will be compared to PJ entirely.
For sure.
Uh,
Joe Ingles
yeah.
can shoot the corner shot. He's got, I feel like, more, he can, space out the floor a little bit more than you were going to have with PJ. So,
And next up, we got some teams that just returned a lot of people here. Timberwolves bringing back Kyle Anderson on 2 years. Or, sorry, not bringing back Kyle Anderson, joining the Timberwolves on a 2 year deal. Bringing back Carl Anthony Towns with a 4 year extension.
yeah,
Bryn Forbes joining the squad on a deal, and Torian Prince returns on a 2 year deal. Um, they also, BJ,
yeah,
added Mr. Rudy Gobert in
yeah.
a blockbuster trade
This is
with
big, Drew. This
the
is
Utah
big.
Jazz. You got those details?
I do. So they're sending Malik Beasley. These are the Timberwolves, that is, sending Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Jared
Yeah,
Vanderbilt, Leandro Bolmaro, the number
gone,
22 pick, Walker Kessler,
gone.
and four first round
One,
picks
two, three, four.
to the
Boom
Jazz.
to the
So it's
Jazz.
going to be the unprotected picks of for from the T Wolves in 2023, 2025, and 2027, and then it will be a top 5 protected pick in
Mm,
2029.
mm,
So, Danny Ainge making some big time moves out
mm,
there in Utah. They've got
mm.
6 first round picks now because we'll talk more about another trade they made as well. So they're gonna, it's Donovan Mitchell's team now, Drew.
Man, it most certainly is. Most certainly is. They didn't have the best relationship, him and Rudy, anyway. So Donovan Mitchell probably a lot happier out there. He might stay in Utah now.
Yeah, he
So
might. Rudy Gobert thanked Utah in a tweet saying that he had felt embraced and supported since day one. Quote, I've grown as a man and as a player before your very eyes, and I'm thankful for every single moment. Utah and its community will always have a special place in my heart. Thank you. The journey continues.
robbed some Defensive Player of the Year awards, but uh,
You're
BJ,
never going to get over that, are you?
BJ, we talked about players that you could add to Minnesota, and you had said DeAndre Ayton. Now they have
I
added
did.
Rudy Gobert, and they didn't get rid of D'Angelo Russell,
No.
Carl Anthony Towns, or Anthony Edwards. They just lost some depth.
Yeah.
How much better is this team? Oh, they added some more. I mean, Kyle Anderson, Brent Forbes, but
Yeah.
what does this team look like for you now?
Not as good as if they'd gotten Aiden, but it is a big move
Really?
nonetheless. I think so. Yeah,
Whoa! You
I
think you think
Aiton was
DeAndre
the
Ayton
bigger.
would have been a
Yes,
better addition to this team than Rudy Gobert?
yes, I
The
do.
two-time defensive player, I think it's two-time defensive player of the year, or is it three? How many has he
I think
won?
it's just
Too many,
two.
far too
Yeah.
many, far too many at this point. But you think, okay, that's a good take right there. I mean, I
I'm.
might clip that one. Okay, Rudy,
I
hey,
like I said,
Rudy, not as good.
We were talking the other day during the episode,
What
and
did you
then
say?
after
5 games, Ayton improved this team. I
I
think you
said
said.
5. Yeah, I would say
Where's
I would.
so Rudy gets you what 2, 3?
Yeah, 2, 3. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
all
it's
right.
it's it is a big move,
I
and
like that take.
we were talking about just the other day when the news came out, Drew. I mean, this is their window. They've got the young core. They wanted
Hmm.
another, big time name to pair with them, and they've got it. So, if they can't make it to out of the Western Conference with this group, it may never happen, Drew. And
Hey,
it's going to be tough, but they it's an arms race, Drew, and they got some big arms in the form of Rudy Gobert.
hey, he may not even be in Utah anymore, but it's still all my homies hate Rudy Gobert. He earned that in the playoffs this year. He's a part of the players that got attacked by
Well, that's
Mavs
true. I
fans.
mean, he kind of proved to be a liability at times in the playoffs, and
Oh
that's
yeah, I
part of the
mean
reason
he's
why there was some tension there between him and Mitchell, and why one of them was going to probably get out, and it ended up being Gobert.
yeah. Not gonna rant about Gobert too much, but ha, Rudy. New
Oh
Orleans
my
Pelicans
goodness.
up next. Mr. Zion Williamson inks a 5-year extension to make New Orleans his home for the foreseeable future. BJ, any other additions besides Zion's, and what's that look like for the Pelicans
No,
coming in next year that were competitive against Phoenix in the first round? You add Zion to that, do they beat them?
the way that if Phoenix loses Aiton, yes, they would. I'll
Mm.
say this: we don't have any
Oh,
news
I
or
mean, I mean, it's currently constructed last year. If you add Zion to that playoff team
oh,
in
I
New
think
Orleans,
so. I mean, I think
okay,
you take away, especially as Booker missed a couple games in that
yeah,
series. The Pelicans with Zion would have taken advantage, and we would have seen
it's
an
gonna be a
8-1. I
dogfight
think.
out
Yeah,
west. It's gonna be
yeah,
a
it's going to
dogfight,
be insane.
man.
So we don't have any other news from the Pelicans at this point, but we do have some numbers. According to Andrew Lopez of ESPN, Zion has agreed to a 5-year, $193 million designated maximum rookie extension. It could earn him as much as $231 million. I mean, we talked about Jokic's deal, but Zion's sitting pretty with that little money.
A lot of moolah.
We
A
got
lot.
Cam, the Jazz fan, in here with his take on the trade to the Timberwolves, and he says it was time.
Go Bears a class act, but it was time. It is time indeed. It is time indeed. Time to now talk about the sad move that Mavs fans are in pain about. New York Knicks up next. Jalen Brunson, darn it, agrees to a 4-year deal with the New York Knicks.
Is it really Mavs fans are sad about this, or just you sad about
I
this?
mean, it's a 4-year, 104 million, by the way.
Yeah, so not the most that they could have given
I
him.
mean, I'm not
Mavs
super
could have
sad.
offered more.
It's just that we didn't even. There's reports they didn't even offer anything, BJ. They
Well,
didn't
what
even
I saw
try.
is that he canceled the meeting. How could they
He
offer
did.
something if
He
he didn't
did end
even
up
meet them?
canceling the meeting, but I mean, like, uh, you know, they didn't like, hey, Jalen, we gotta get this done. They were
Yeah, I
just they
that
kind
it
of played it
was.
lightly and like we're confident he's gonna come back until we see otherwise, until we have reason to believe. Like, dude,
Yeah, they had
his
time.
dad's the coach now. That
That
should just tell you he's
yeah,
gone.
well, they had time to work something out before
They had time.
before
And they
the
tried to
trade
have a
deadline even.
last minute meeting. Why do you want a last minute meeting? Get the meeting done as soon as possible.
Yeah, I
That last minute stuff is
I've
no.
seen a lot of people say that why they made the Dinwiddie trade is that they expected that, but it didn't necessarily have to be that way.
Better
Uh,
players, Spencer Dinwiddie or Jalen Brunson.
it's tough. I think JB, but just slightly. I mean, just what he was able to do in the postseason, it really,
Mm-hmm.
you can see his potential and why New York basically went all in to get him, Drew. I mean,
Because
this is a guy, we've talked a lot about. He never made an All Star appearance, at least not to this point. This is a lot of money to throw at a second round draft pick, and it's they're betting big that they're gonna win the jackpot in this deal, and it just Drew, I mean, it feels to a certain extent desperate. I mean, we've seen the potential he has, but is he ready for the big stage, the spotlight all being on him?
well, it's not going to all be on him because it's not. I don't know what he's not. He doesn't need to have it in his mind that it's his team because it's not. It's R.J. Barrett's team. Uh, and then Julius Randle, who was second team All NBA last year, is out there as well. So I mean, he's the
So,
third best player still.
so
So I mean, he got a
yes,
nice little chunk of change, but you're the third best player when. I mean, you still would have been the third best player in Dallas, probably. Argue
yeah,
Christian Wood versus Jalen Brunson. Some people
mm-hmm.
will. I think it's Christian Wood, maybe, at this point. Um, but, you know, third in the pecking order no matter what. So, I
Well,
mean, it's just
yes.
you want to play in the Big Apple type of thing and with your dad, that's really the only thing. Because you could have just been comfortable, maybe got some more money, and just stayed around here. Because we're winning a championship before they are.
See, you
So
and I can have this conversation,
we
and
can we
and
can be
we
here
we
all night.
know we know this to be the case. But what I don't think we're taking into consideration is the way the New York media will be, even though it will not be Jalen Brunson's team. He is the big free agent acquisition. He's the one that cost them $104 million. If they don't do well, it's going to be on him because the Knicks are investing all this money in him. They drafted R.J. Barrett. He's it's his team, yes, but they're not spending all this money to get him, or to lock him in, at least at this point. So that's where I say, that's where the question is going to be: is he going to be able to handle that? Because what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They get on a losing streak, and all eyes are going to be on him, whether they should be or not. It's just the way New York sports media has been, for a long time, Drew.
Yep. Mitchell Robinson returning on a 4-year deal, and Isaiah Hartenstein agrees to a 2-year deal, and that's that Knicks news for right now.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
that's it.
OKC Thunder next. I'm not even going to try and say his first name because Lu
LeGuint's,
Luheinz. I don't know
maybe.
something.
Dort.
Dort. Your boy Dort in OKC returns on a 5-year deal, and then all the young guns and everybody else that they got out there. OKC will be a league pass team this year, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, they've got some, they've got some,
Giddy, Shea
yeah,
Gilgis, Chet Holmgren,
definitely a lot of
and
young talent, but they've also got some capital if they want to make some moves
oh
in the
yeah,
future.
plenty of stuff to make a move. They could trade for a superstar right now.
Yeah,
Orlando Magic up next. They bring back Mo Bamba on 2 year deal and take Gary Harris in for a 2 year extension.
another young
Uh,
team building around a young core.
Still gonna stink again next year.
Hmm.
Goodness. Philadelphia 76ers, PJ Tucker coming in on a 3 year deal, and Daniel House agrees on a 2 year deal. A couple former teammates of James Harden. James
I
Harden
was gonna
possibly going
say,
to stay in Philly?
yeah, I was
Possibly.
gonna
Well,
say nothing on James
interesting.
Harden yet. So,
Yeah, nothing on James, but we'll mention him just a bit later.
hmm.
Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker agreeing on a 4 year extension. Damian Lee coming to Phoenix to tell the secrets of the Golden State Warriors so Phoenix can beat them. Bismack Biyombo agreeing to a new deal to stay in Phoenix, and Josh Okogie coming to town on a 1 year deal. Uh, Damian Lee's got to come in and just spill all the beans. Like, here's how you beat Golden State. Here's how you guard Steph Curry, my brother-in-law. Here's how you do it, and here's what he hates. Here's what you do. All right. So he's just got to come in there and do that. Tell it to Chris, and he'll make Steph Curry punch him in the face in a game, and he'll get ejected for the rest of the series. And then Golden State will go home and think so, go and win it all. That's the
That's
master
at least what
plan
that's
of
what they
Damien.
hope.
Yeah.
That's what they hope, but they may not be done, Drew. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. I think watch out for Phoenix either with a with that KD
Yeah, they're trying to get
possibility.
KP.
So
Yeah, that would be a blockbuster.
it
Next up,
would be.
Portland Trailblazers. Afrani Simons agreeing on a 4 year extension. Good little player.
Hmm.
Yusuf Nurkic staying there on a 4 year deal. Drew Eubanks staying there on a 1 year deal. And Gary Payton Jr. making his way to Portland and not Dallas on a 3 year deal.
Well,
Uh,
Dame's got his number two back after the CJ McCollum trade. How much can Portland improve with some of these acquisitions? It'll be interesting to see this Portland team this year. I don't think they're league pass when you've got Damian Lillard.
it's gonna be it's a that's gonna be a it's gonna be a fun guard tandem. Lillard, Anthony
Hmm.
Simons, Gary Payton Jr.
Yeah,
That'll be I think there'll be a league pass team. League pass team. Maybe. I don't know.
maybe.
Sacramento Kings just take Malik Monk away from this the LA Lakers on a 2 year deal. I don't know why he wants to go to Sacramento, but
Well, they've got a young core they're building.
stop it. Don't say they're good. They're
I
not
didn't
making the
say they were
playoffs.
good. I said they've got a young, good core.
A good core. A good core that's not gonna make the playoffs.
True.
San Antonio Spurs, nothing yet. They just shipped out their boy Dejounte, getting ready for a rebuild.
Hmm.
Who knows what they're gonna do?
Yeah,
Toronto Raptors, Chris Boucher returning on a 3 year deal. Otto Porter Jr. coming to tell the secrets of the Golden State Warriors in case they meet in the finals again like 2019 so that they can beat them, agreeing on a 2 year deal. Thaddeus Young returning on a new deal with the Raptors. Raptors, and pretty soon, gonna pay a lot of money to Fred Van Vliet to stay there and hang out as well.
yeah,
Raptors gonna make things interesting in the East because they were a pretty good team last year. Without some injury bumps early, if Pascal Siakam starts the season with this team, I
yeah.
mean, like they're probably
Who
a top
knows?
two,
Four,
three. I mean, just make
maybe.
things super interesting. I don't know. There's a lot
Yeah.
of talent out there. Utah Jazz, nothing but sending out Rudy and bringing in those other guys.
They also
Uh,
traded Royce O'Neal to the Nets for
oh,
their
don't
first rounder
that
next
doesn't
year.
matter. Royce O'Neal's gone. All right, boo hoo. And then the Washington Wizards bring back Bradley Beal. I didn't actually think he was going to stay. On a 5 year extension, Anthony Gill returning on a new deal, and DeLon Wright agreeing to a 2 year deal. That is all the NBA movement. And BJ, here's who's left
Hmm.
in the free agent pool. James Harden, unrestricted free agent. We talked about him. Probably going to sign with the Sixers. DeAndre Ayton, restricted free agent. Probably going somewhere other than uh, Phoenix. Colin Sexton, restricted free agent, looking to see if he can possibly come to Dallas or somewhere else. Who
Yeah.
knows? You mentioned you'd be interested. T.J. Warren, unrestricted free agent. That's intriguing.
Hmm.
Arguably the most intriguing free agent out there. With what he did, the bubble didn't get to play last year. You bring
Yeah.
him in off your bench. I mean, that's a wing player. Good fun. Montrez Harrell, unrestricted free agent. Uh, so he's facing some stuff right now from a felony drug charge in May 12th.
Ugh.
So I mean that's probably why his stuff's taking a while.
Yeah.
Mello, unrestricted free agent. Caleb Martin, restricted free agent. Dennis Schroeder, unrestricted free agent. And those are the main guys. Those are the best remaining guys.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with some of those in the coming
It's gonna be
days.
very interesting.
Very, very interesting. I have a lot to talk about still, probably on that next episode or that new episode of the Lowdown coming up this week. But BJ, just like fantasy or fantasy, free
Woo!
agency, the action
Wow.
never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, especially this summer. With tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, you can fuel your fandom and feel the heat of the season like never before. And feeling the heat, BJ, it's going to be really hot next week out here in
Oh
Texas. 100
gosh.
plus all week. Ooh, wee.
Oh
Uh,
man.
Plus, right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, they're giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right. Make your first bet up to $1,000. If it doesn't win, it's all right. It's all right. You'll get another shot to cash in.
That's right, Drew. Don't worry about the heat. Just sit in front of your computer screen in front of DraftKings and place some bets. Tomorrow, I like on the 4th of July some baseball bets. I'm going to look at Justin Verlander if he's still the scheduled starter for the Astros
Hey.
against the Kansas City Royals. I like his chances of getting 5.5 strikeouts or more. I'm going to say over. So, as I said, baseball, you've got Wimbledon going on at least for another week or so that you can throw down some money on all the major action baseball,
Mm-hmm.
golf,
Oh, yeah.
tennis, MMA, much, much more. Plus, with same game parlays, spreads, money lines, over unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. Best of all, DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. All right, Drew. Well, I was giving my Twitter fingers a little rest over the Independence Day weekend, so I might have missed, as what you alluded to earlier on in the show. There was some Dallas Wings that sent out some tweets Friday night after the loss to the Sparks, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, BJ.
Okay.
And coming from the main one coming from a player you just wouldn't expect, just because it's not her personality. She wouldn't usually air that stuff out, probably. But yeah, that was going on right after the game on Friday night. There was a player that tweeted, or not a player, somebody on Twitter tweeted, "Why coach keep pulling Izzy out?" Tagged her on Twitter. She quoted it after the game and said, "When you find out, let me know." Man, it's
Gosh.
uh, it's
Woo.
it's it's getting problematic out
Mm.
here in Dallas, dude. And Izzy got every right to be upset about that situation. For the first
Yeah.
time this season, she played under 10 minutes a game,
Mm.
and just really for no reason at this
That
point.
doesn't make
And
sense.
yeah, and the way she's been used has kind of been up and down all season. She started the year off in the first 4 games, 3 games with double digit scoring, just hot. Like, oh yeah, Izzy coming in fresh off of AU, doing what she did in AU, balling.
Hmm.
A double in one of the first 4 games, and then it just started going down at
Mm.
the end of May. So it doesn't make sense how
No,
the
it
up and
doesn't.
down usage happened with Izzy, and the way her minutes are going doesn't make sense either. But it's not her personality at all to make a
No.
tweet like that. And a lot of Dallas media, including myself, were just kind of perplexed at the fact that she tweeted that. Like, you may expect it from somebody else
Yeah.
on the team, but you're not going to expect it usually from an Isabel Harrison.
Yeah.
And to see that, I was kind of shocked. And
It's just one of those things we talked about in last week's episode, Drew. The more frustrations, and we didn't have an answer for uh, what the problem is, and we kind of, I know you saw it, I saw it too. We kind of were not lambasted, I would say, but one of our listeners did, say, hey, you're not really addressing the problem, and there is a disconnect between the coaching staff
yeah,
and the front office, and I mean, they're right about GM needs to step down, and whoever the next coach is, if Vicky's on her way out, should do double duty and really assemble the roster as they see fit and how they want to with their scheme. Because something's not working, and before we run out all of our best players, you know, what are we going to do, Drew? What are the
yeah.
Dallas Wings going to do?
Listening to the lowdown, talking about what's going on in Dallas. Not sure what they're gonna do, man. I mean, it's a real question mark. It's a real question mark because they've kind of swept a lot of things under the rug throughout the season, kind of pretend like they don't have problems behind the scenes, and then you have Enrique, this season where she's kicking some stuff, kicking the scores table at that one game, and just some surprising moments
Yeah,
like that. So obviously a different kind of year for her, a little bit more added frustration. Um, and the up and down usage of Izzy here. She's basically like she's been used less and less ever since the more Tierra's been getting acclimated. And we talked about the disconnect between you know, GM and coach.
yeah,
And it's obvious that it's kind of seeming like Greg is now forcing her in there, but at the same time, throughout the course of the beginning of the season, they talked about Tierra getting less practice,
yeah,
or not having enough practice, and that's why she wasn't being utilized. And she gets more practice now; she's getting more playing time, but
yeah,
it's taken away from what Izzy's been able to do on the court from an offensive standpoint. Just haven't been able to get it going. Minutes kind of sporadic, um, and it's just an up and down situation for her. And I get the frustration boiling over, and she
yeah,
hasn't deleted her post, which sometimes players do after a reaction post or a reaction tweet or whatever they
yeah.
have. They just delete
Must
them.
mean she stands by it, Drew.
Right. Oh yeah, she's definitely upset, and you can understand why. Um,
Yeah,
so I mean, she was doing good early, and it's kind of been an up and down roller coaster since. But when she's putting up numbers, it's efficient. But when
when
she's getting
and
staggered used throughout the game, and it affects when get her shot attempts and things like that are going to happen. And
yeah,
the other player who made the tweet, who ended up deleting hers, I figured somebody would. I figured
hmm
somebody would. Charlie Collier posted a tweet after the game, and you can tell, or you can see why Charlie would be, making a frustration post because
yeah,
Laga Herb Minutes #1 pick last year.
yeah.
Um, she just said on Twitter, "Whoa, child, whoa, child."
That could have been about anything, Drew. Are we
It
reading
could
too
have.
much into this?
No, it was
No.
shortly, about an hour aftermath of the Izzy tweet.
Hmm.
But you're right, it could have been about something else. But why
But
did it
if
get
it had
deleted?
been, it would probably still be up. Yeah.
Yeah, why did it get deleted? So
Maybe it was a
you know
misfire.
she's
That happens on Twitter
she's
sometimes.
obviously frustrated as well. I feel like that's her true feel. I mean, it could just be you could say it's a comment about every just Izzy's situation.
The
Maybe it's
frustration boiling
Charlie's tired
over.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
frustration boiling over. So Charlie sees Izzy able to tweet it out. She feels like she can be able to do it herself as
Yeah.
well.
I was
Because
gonna say,
that's what you usually kind of see from some players, like when they're tweeting it out, another player will tweet something out as well. But like, my
yeah,
teammate aired it out. They're friends or whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and tweet something too.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Maybe
Charlie
maybe they,
Younger, a
yeah,
little further down in the pecking order there, she's gonna delete hers.
yeah.
Izzy, you know, different little situation, but definitely some frustrations out in Dallas and some things boiling over. Um,
3-8 in
every
their last 11, Drew. 3-8 in their last 11. But when they are
two
winning, Izzy's part of the lineup, and getting significant numbers. Taking away her minutes is not going to help the whatever is causing this team. On this slide they've been on.
Izzy is a part of the best starting lineup or the best
Hmm.
lineup for the Dallas Wings.
Yeah,
They have the most minutes played together, and they have one of the best net ratings of all the lineups Dallas has. That starting
yeah,
lineup that was together ever since Game 2. Marina, Arike, Alicia, Kayla, Izzy.
yeah.
It's the best Dallas lineup. And you often don't see them together anymore. You don't see that a whole
I
lot
don't
these
understand it.
days. Don't see it a lot.
Mm.
Um, but that's just that situation there. And after the game and the post game, Vicky, she's, I've mentioned a couple of times she had goals of leading the league in pace and in steals, and she talked about she's frustrated that teams playing not playing fast enough,
Yeah.
and that LA played faster than them on Friday.
Hmm.
I mean, well, Vicky, LA is they're second in pace in the
Yeah.
league. I mean, every time you play
Yeah.
them, the game is 90 plus points for both teams. A lot of possessions, but you're playing fast. So
Yeah.
when you play LA, you almost to a certain extent Dallas plays how they want to play, faster.
Hmm.
I mean, they still they slowed some things down when they throw it into Tierra early in the first quarter, which I mean they ended up getting away for literally the rest of the game, giving her the ball, and VJ kind of made it seem like it was Tierra's fault, which I was like, what? And when she would get when she came back in the second half, she got foul number like 3 and then foul number 4. As soon as she got 3, she was taken out. As soon as she got 4, she was taken out.
Mm.
So even though like Izzy's having this problem and like sometimes she's getting taken out for Big T's getting taken out for some crap too. So
Yeah.
ah, really, really tumultuous
It's
situation there. But BJ, you mentioned they only won 3 of their last 11 games. Make that put 2 3-game losing streaks in the midst of that as well.
mm.
And if they lose their next game, it'll be 2 4-game losing streaks in 12 games.
And it's
Uh,
going to be tough because they're playing Connecticut, and Connecticut's upset because Dallas went in and won one on their home court. And I just don't expect that to be a win.
and BJ, I was talking with Mark Schlender from WNBA.com, talking about the last 15, 16 games for the Dallas Wings and kind of what I predicted their
Hmm.
record was going to be based
Yeah.
on, their opponents coming up. I thought most realistically probably an 8-8 record in their final 16 games. The funny part is, one of those 8 wins I had being the LA game on Friday. So
Oh,
they're gonna
they
have
got to
to
find
get
a win somewhere else to
they're gonna
get
have to
that.
get another significant win within this to actually do that, which I don't know if they can do yet.
We'll
Because
see.
I only think most of those wins are going to be insignificant ones on bottom level teams, Lynx,
Hmm.
Fever, those teams down there. If they, I don't think they play the Sparks again, but
I
maybe
think they're
getting
gonna.
one win over the Sky, maybe 2 because they beat them in the series last year.
Hmm.
But I don't think they'll beat the Aces. They won't beat Connecticut when they face them on Tuesday, probably. Knock on wood, they play them like they did the first time. Wow,
Yeah.
but probably not. So you just don't have faith in Seattle again. Don't have faith in them to
No.
complete this thing. So
They're right now. They're still in the playoff push.
they
They're tied
are,
for
but
seventh with 3 teams, but I don't know. I mean, the way that the Liberty and the Sparks have been playing, they could just as easily fall out. And I don't think
yeah, and they're
they got to
only a
have something.
half game ahead of Phoenix, who is in
Yeah.
10th right now.
Oh man.
So I mean, it's nothing is promised right now. We could
No.
miss the playoffs because teams, New York is getting it together,
Yeah.
6-4 in their last 10, and Sparks are, halfway sort of figuring things out sometimes.
Yeah.
Phoenix is starting to win games. They're 5-5 in their last 10 when you thought they were dead in the water.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta beat Seattle today.
Yeah,
So, they're figuring out they're 10 and 11 now, and they're staying, in the middle section of this playoff race as well. So, Dallas has to like figure it out. They have to become that team like ASAP. Like the
yeah,
moment that they come back from the All-Star break, they have to be the team. They have to be the
yeah.
team or they will very possibly. I think there's a 75% chance, at least right now, that they miss the playoffs if they don't become that team right after they come back from the All Star break.
I would
Because
say higher. I have
yeah,
lost
probably
confidence,
higher.
Drew. I have
N-
lost confidence.
Man, a lot of
I
people
hope
have.
I'm wrong, but maybe it's just because I'm always the negative. I look at things so negatively on the show. I just
Man,
don't see it. I don't see them making the playoffs at this point. The way they're
yeah, it's
playing,
it's tough. And Izzy, I looked at the on off numbers for Izzy. I mean, it's not a drastic difference for Dallas when she's on and off the court. Part of that is because of her sporadic minutes,
yeah,
throughout the game and how she's utilized and, not in those same successful lineups before.
yeah,
But just I understand the frustration, the boiling over, and things like that. But next 5 games, BJ, it's a tough sledding for Dallas.
hmm,
One before the All Star break, and then the rest of these are after, I believe. You
yeah,
got Connecticut next, Seattle, Minnesota, who recently blew you out,
yeah. Ugh.
and then Chicago twice. So I mean, they could lose all 5.
Yeah.
They
If
could
if
maybe win one of the Chicago games or maybe beat. I don't think they can come out. I don't see with a positive record from that. I see
I
at
was gonna
best two
say
and
if
three.
if they can, yeah, I was gonna say 2-3. If they can find a way to flip one of those games and go 3-2,
Yeah, if they can
maybe.
finally beat Seattle,
Yeah.
or really get over the hump against Seattle again. Well, I mean, they've had a good win. Okay. So this team is 9-12 on the season. They've had 3 significant wins on the year. That's a
Hmm.
game 2 against Washington on the road against Connecticut,
Hmm.
and then that first game against Seattle when Seattle only had 51 points.
Yeah. And that's more of a fluke because they didn't have Stewie.
Yeah, and the Connecticut game, the following they got obliterated. I think it was a 30-point loss after
Something
they
like
they
that.
won
Yeah.
that first game. So, and then, getting blown out by one of the bottom teams in Minnesota who is I mean, not really I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. You really don't expect them to. I mean, 6
Not
and
this point.
15, I mean, still is back, but you don't see them squeezing in for it. Too many competitive teams right there between, 6 and 10 to
Yeah.
really fit Minnesota in. So, I mean, maybe you win this time. Hopefully, you win this time against Minnesota. So, but
You have
defending
to.
champs are better than last year.
Hmm.
So, and you won 2 out of 3, I think. And let's just say probably you get 1 out of 3 here. So, I mean, you can get 2 out of these 5. That's not good. And you're looking at 11 and 15. So, I mean, BJ, while we're in the midst of this conversation, I've still got something else I want to point out about Dallas. Do you think
Hmm.
this team can get a winning record for the first time in their franchise this year? They're 9-12 with 15 games left.
It's a tough stretch. When we just talked about, we don't expect that to be over 500. And I think it's you still got another Chicago game after that as well in the last 10, right? All three Chicago games are in the last 15.
Yeah, there's another Chicago game.
So I'm gonna say no.
Mm,
It's gonna be tough for them to win 10 of 15 because that's what they'll have to do to finish over 500. And
yeah,
so I just don't see it. I wish I could lie and say yeah they're gonna do it. I've got complete confidence, but I don't.
right. Yeah, they don't make you real confident right now.
No.
But yeah, it's gonna be tough sledding, and those first 5, that I just mentioned is gonna be tough. As they try and make some headway here, but
Yeah.
um, at least they're healthy now. You kind of worry about Satu. Coach said she, played her a little bit too much on Friday. I thought so too.
Mm.
And there was even an incident when Satu fell, I believe, which was put on the video board that she said my knee gave out
Oh,
when she was driving. She was able to walk off and everything. We haven't heard anything, any update. We won't get an injury report, maybe until tomorrow
Monday.
afternoon.
Yeah.
So we don't know if Satu is going to play again on Tuesday. Alicia's
Mm.
fine, no men's restrictions. She started and everything.
Well,
So,
that's good.
I mean, they're healthy still, but I mean, I don't know. There's Satu did some good things out there on Friday. I loved her drive and kick.
Yeah.
When she was in there. I'd like to see a lot more of that, but
Hmm.
need her healthy. And BJ, this is going to be the first chance in Satu's career to get 20 games played in a season.
Yeah.
She, I think she was. This was her ninth game on Friday, and there's 15 games left. She has to play 11 of those 15 games to get 20 games played this season. She
Hmm.
hasn't done it before. I believe I think she had 14 last year and maybe 18 her rookie season.
Yeah.
So she's missed time every year, and I was worried about that coming in, but it was about her Achilles and not, now her knee.
Yeah.
Um, but she's a really good player when she's in, but her injuries and her ability to not be able to stay out there as often is affecting her, numbers and her percentages out here. So
Yeah.
her 3-point percentage is going back down to her rookie season level where it was pretty god awful that
Mm.
first year. So and she has 6 turnovers on Friday and she played 16 minutes. That wasn't great, but
No.
um,
No, it's not.
Dallas got a lot to figure out. But back on the topic of VJ and the Dallas Wings. I mean, we're still on Dallas Wings, obviously, but through 53 games, BJ, who do you think has the better record coaching, Brian Agler or Vicky Johnson?
I think you're trying to trick me. I'm gonna say Brian Aguilar, uh, because you think Vicky Johnson, but I'm gonna say Brian Aguilar.
You would actually be wrong.
Okay.
Agler had a tumultuous 17 and 36 record in
Hmm.
53 games in his 2 seasons with the Wings,
Yeah.
and well, I took away the last 3 games of the 2020 season, so it would
Hmm.
equal 53 where we're at here. VJ threw 53 games in Dallas last year and everything so far this year.
Hmm.
Just 23 and 30.
Mm.
A little bit better, but
Doesn't
still
feel like
7
it.
games under. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right. Right. It doesn't feel like it. Like it is better
Yeah.
on paper. 23 and 30 is definitely better than 17 and
Hmm.
36, but
Yeah.
it still doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't sound good,
And it
and the result
feels like
hasn't been good
no, and it feels like
enough.
the players are not. It's felt more toxic. Would you say the past
Mm.
couple years than with Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's a word. It's
Maybe
definitely
not
felt.
toxic,
It's
but
definitely been different.
yeah,
I will say that.
not a
Um,
vibe. I'll say that.
not not a vibe. It's not a vibe. Yeah, it's been interesting, but what's going on with this team? You sometimes I almost don't even think a post game for me. I have a point in going sometimes just because like I know why they lost. Like it's the same thing every time they
Yeah.
lose, the same reason.
What? How
And
are we going to fix
very
it?
evidently at home, they're a good team for you can count on them being a good team for 1 quarter. You can count on that.
Yeah.
You can count on the first quarter them being a good team. And earlier in the season, you could count on them most places being a
First
good
half.
third quarter team.
Yeah.
They used to be a third quarter team earlier in the season. Now they're actually pretty bad out of the half
Oh.
now. Um, but uh, this team is it's just been up and down. Like even that description sounds up and down. They started as a third quarter team. Now they're awful in the third quarter. Now they only give you one good quarter per game guaranteed. They can never put it together for a 4 game or a 4 quarter sample. And that example happened on Friday. Like the first quarter was good, then every quarter after it,
Was just bad.
it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
Um, they're never able to put the product together. And VJ, she's admitted now that she thought they were going to, they were reaching that level of the team that they're trying to be, but now it, clearly seems like that they're not.
Yeah. Well, it could be worse, Drew. It could be a team that scored 17 points in a single half as opposed to a quarter, like
Mm.
the Mystics did today in their overtime loss at the Sun. So, but I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to trash talk the Mystics because they're doing better than the Wings.
They know who they are.
Yeah,
They know who they are,
yeah,
and they've figured it out.
yeah.
Um, with Dallas, man, it's a situation. People are probably gonna call for VJ's firing more this at this point now. Um, I don't know if we keep just shuffling out coaches. That's gonna fix anything.
No, and as we talked about earlier in this episode, as we kind of alluded to in the last episode,
Hmm.
it's got to. We feel like it at this point. If you keep seeing coaches come in and go right back out, you've got to look higher up. And what's the problem? And
Hmm.
are we
Because you
going to
don't
get
want
that
this.
fixed?
Because you don't want this to be an Indiana situation. But
Yeah,
this franchise has to. I I really think they've got to turn it around pretty quick. I
yeah,
mean, they could. I think they could be swiped away quickly and replaced because the league is talking about expansion.
hmm,
They could bring in three teams and take Dallas away.
yeah. They can
So let's
relocate.
just say
Yeah,
they bring the Comets back and you get a Toronto team and a Philly team. Like you got 14 teams. Like you're
yeah,
good, and Dallas couldn't hack it. I mean,
yeah.
it could be another one of those franchises that just didn't make it. They're
Well,
not winning out here. They haven't had
yeah.
a winning record, winning season. They've never won a playoff game. So they need some
Let's
winning to actually jumpstart this franchise. Win
yeah,
some games, make it to the playoffs, win a playoff series, have a winning
yeah,
record so you can get your games on national TV. I mean, so you can show off your all stars more, your players that should be all defense. Alicia Gray might be an all star if you get on national TV more and,
yeah,
get her out there and get more people cashing those votes in for her, more eyes on her because,
yeah,
people aren't seeing her. But, that's like, they should. I don't know. I feel like they should be worried in a way because so many teams have folded over the years in the WNBA that if you're unsuccessful like this for a period of time, and you're not like an Indiana Fever team that has a championship on their resume so they can stay because
yeah,
they believe that maybe Indiana one day can fix it out and they have championship pedigree. You have
yeah.
nothing to show for it. You
And I
have
mean,
nothing
you
to
talk
show for
about
out
how
here.
much the state of Indiana loves basketball just in general. I mean, what
Yeah.
Dallas, we have three NBA teams, but
Hmm.
we're not the birthplace of basketball or anything like that. So there's
Right.
nothing, unless they like the attendance numbers or whatever the revenue that is coming in at the College Park Center. What's to stop them?
And it's
And
not
and
an
does ownership
attractive.
not realize that?
Yeah, and it's not an attractive free agency destination either.
No.
So many other facilities within the league are so much better. Like they're in a
Yeah.
college gym. They're in a college
Hmm.
gym, and that's another thing where I think it kind of makes it easier for this team to be uprooted from where it is because it doesn't even have its own
Yeah.
gym. Like it's set up like, oh, Dallas Wings are going to be here to stay. They're just borrowing UTA's gym, and they call that
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
So I feel like Dallas has got to really kind of they gotta up the ante and become a team that people wanna watch and care about because the Dallas area. I mean, we love our basketball out here.
Yeah.
I mean, Mavs games, Mavs MFFLs go crazy, and
Hmm.
if you bring the MFFLs, on this side, that's that's another thing they haven't tapped into. How do you not tap into all the Mavs fans and be like, hey, come be fans of us too a little bit?
You
I
like
mean, but
Luca? Come cheer for Enrique. I mean,
yeah, like we got all stars
exactly.
out here too. Like we got a
Yeah,
young super all star. So um, you gotta watch out for things like that. Good call there. Um, Here, I'll fix that. Oh well, I'll try to. But yeah, you gotta get some eyes on this team and get things worked out here, and make it an attractive place for players to come to. But people want to watch. Losing out here
yeah.
all the time. Not having a winning record is not gonna it's not gonna do it for you.
No, no,
So
it's not.
gotta be fixed there.
Yeah,
But a lot of things going on. Those players' tweets, that just shows things are a little bit dramatic out here. Um, if they lose on Tuesday, BJ, it's going to be their second four-game losing streak of the season. I believe they're
mm,
third in 2 seasons.
yeah,
So trying to put it all together over here.
yeah.
So
When you've got like 4 times 9 games, and you go on 2 4-game losing streaks in the same season, that's just I don't know what else you can say. It's not good.
yeah,
It's not good.
All right.
Oh man, Drew.
Yeah, having a little situation here over on YouTube, trying to get that fixed here. Yeah,
Oh,
Cam,
we can always
handling the
cut this
troll.
part out at least. So
Yeah, handling the troll. But yeah, that's all I've got actually on the Dallas end. Just there's
yeah,
a lot of things going on out here, and I mean, it's just not helping. A team that when you're not winning games, you can't afford to be problematic like this.
no.
If this team was, I don't know, flip the record 12-9, this probably isn't as big of a deal. But like, hey, you guys are
Or
winning
even
now. Just
even
chill
if you had
out,
a
play
situation going
basketball.
on like the Mercury have with one of their big name stars, being an international fugitive because of, or I mean, obviously
Free
not,
free
yeah,
BG.
free breaching indeed, but that would be more of a reason for there to be more off the court eyes as focus. But there's nothing like that going on here.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Free BG, by the way. BG still detained in Russia.
yeah.
Hoping for her safe return home
I think
sooner
they
rather
started her
than later.
trial the other day, and
They did.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully we can, get that extradited and get her home.
Hoping for the best for BG. But BJ, anything you want to add on the Dallas situation?
I mean, I think we've kind of, we could probably talk until we're blue in the face because of
Yeah.
all this, and I don't know if it's going to fix much. I think we've really got to look, you know, at some of the, the higher ups and see what the problem is in the front office, and if they don't really care about winning, then do they really care about having their franchise? Do they care about having the team here? And these are questions that legitimately need to be asked because, like you said, Drew, it could just as easily be that we have to drive 4 hours to see the Comets, aka the Old Wings,
Yeah.
play a game here in the next couple of years. And I hope that's not the case.
BJ, the Dallas Wings started off 4-0 on the road this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're 5-5 on the road now.
Oh,
1-5 in their last six road
six.
games.
Mm,
And they are a tumultuous 4-7 on their home turf. 4-7 on their home turf. More often than not, getting embarrassed at home.
yikes.
Yeah, it's a tough deal out there.
Yeah,
I really hope things can get figured out in Dallas. I really hope for the best for this team.
me
I hate
too.
to see the drama come through, and I hope it just gets all worked out because they obviously they won't expound about it or anything, but hopefully it gets worked out in house. This team can tap into its potential because when you see the good flashes, they're really good, and if they can put it all together for 4 quarters a lot more often than not, then that would be awesome.
Absolutely, Drew.
That would be
Absolutely.
awesome, and it would make things a lot easier out here. Like,
Yeah.
oh
Make it a
my
lot
goodness.
easier on us.
Yeah, people we'd get to breathe out here for a second, but that's all I've got on the Dallas Wings and what's going on out there. We'll see how that gets figured out going forward if it gets figured out. Rest of the league popping today, got some games going on, a couple going on right now.
Hmm.
So shouts out to the rest of the teams. A lot of good things going on. All Star break coming up this weekend. We'll mention a little bit more about that on our next show for anybody, our extra listeners listening into this one. Talk more about the All Star game next time.
And
But
any moves that come out in the next couple days.
right, right, and still we're tapped in on NBA free agency. We're looking at on
Absolutely.
all that news is coming out as well. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter and Instagram, where we're keeping up with those things and chatting with y'all still as well. That's the underscore lowdown, THA underscore lowdown on both Twitter and Instagram. And make sure once you follow us on those platforms, you can check the link in our Twitter bio. I want to say it's on Instagram too. Don't quote me. But check that Twitter bio and you can get the link to our merch that you see on the screen right now for those watching on YouTube. Lowdown t shirts and a lot of other merch items available as well through our people on T Public. BJ showing the pillow. Hey, hey, hey. So make sure you guys check all that out and drop follows over on YouTube and Twitch as well. We do our live recordings over there usually typically every Wednesday. So, date might change with the football season coming up. BJ and I, play-by-play guys, we're going to have to
Yeah,
adjust that a little bit. So,
that'll
but
be a
we'll let
season
you,
3 issue.
yeah, we'll let y'all know about all that on those social media platforms we told you to follow us on. Ha! All right.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, guys, that is going to be it for this extra bonus episode of the Lowdown. We will catch you next time for the next episode. Be easy and happy 4th of July, ladies and gentlemen.
Happy Memorial Day. Not
Peace.
Memorial Day. I said Independence Day.
My man said Memorial Day. Happy 4th of July.